happen.
Okay. Can you see me and my screen without notes?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see everything, and I can see it in like presentation view too.
So how long have you been with My Wolf Design?
Well, I've been a copywriter on Meredith's team for, oh my goodness, 2 years?
Nice.
Something like that, but I, um, run my own social media marketing agency.
Oh,
So,
cool.
I do Meredith's marketing, and then I also do, copy for her for a lot of her websites. Um, so yeah, so we just work really well together, and, I love her. She's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah, and how did you come to meet Meredith?
It was a referral.
Nice.
Yeah. She was looking for an accountant and we just kind of hit it off and yeah.
That's awesome. Oh, so you do Meredith's accounting? Oh, maybe I need you. I am looking for a new accountant.
No, it's yeah, no, I thought that's how you knew.
No,
How
I don't know
you
anything.
No, yeah. So yeah, I honestly like am trying to build my client base of just like powerful women, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's so good to know because, well, I've started recording and I know that there's somebody already in here. So, please feel free to join the conversation if you like. But so I actually like my lawyer is going to do the incorporating for me. And he was like, oh, you should reach out to like my accountant that I work closely with. And I'm
Who's
like, this
Do you know
guy,
who
like,
the accountant is?
um, his name is Eric, somebody. I could send you the information in the DMs later, but and I've emailed him twice and he hasn't gotten back to me. So I'm like, okay, well, that's not gonna work. So I'm not gonna,
Who's
you know,
your lawyer?
Chris Martin at Rose Law.
Okay.
He's a friend of ours.
Okay.
He's done like all of our real estate transactions and our wills and all of those things.
All the things.
Yeah, and I do a little bit of marketing for him on LinkedIn. So that's why he's like, "I'll just do the incorporation for you, like, it's a
That's
wash."
good. It's a lawyer that's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. But he's a great guy, but I was like, "Chris, this guy isn't getting back to me, like, how can I work with this?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So, no, I'll definitely connect with you because I need something. My current accountant is just like a bookkeeper. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, like, they're not giving me, um, any advice.
I think once you start incorporation, I think that's a like you need to know who you're hiring to help you with that, whether that be me or another CPA. But I do think having someone dedicated, like for me, I have a tax specialization, so I'm not just an accountant, and I'll say this today, but I'm also a tax specialist. So like I've done 3 years of extra courses. So it's like in-depth of taxation, which is like equivalent to a master's of tax.
Right.
So like having that, I'm able to like provide really good tax planning advice for my clients.
Yeah,
And but it is tough because like I'm not saying bookkeepers are they're really good at what they do, but you really want to hire people that specialize in that realm. So
sure.
like if they don't do incorporations, they shouldn't be trying to do corporate tax returns. If someone doesn't do death returns, and does them, usually I'm fixing them because,
Mm,
just it becomes more complicated. So you just want to make sure that like kind of like, what you spend on what you're having um kind of makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes the
exactly.
extra cost is worth it when you know it's being done right. You're getting really good planning advice. And like at the end of the day, like when you're incorporating, we're incorporating because we see like long term, medium term, and short term growth. And we want to like plan for that.
Mm, yes. That's that's the thing.
Yeah,
That's exactly
totally.
it.
Totally.
Okay, so it's 12 o'clock. I'm just gonna wait a couple minutes because people do usually filter in a couple
Yeah,
minutes.
absolutely.
So anybody who's on, Meredith is currently on a cruise, jealous. So my name is Sarah. I'm gonna host for Meredith, and we'll just give a couple minutes before we start Skylar's presentation.
So people are signing up for this.
Yeah, so they've signed up for it already.
Oh, gotcha.
Um, there are some people who kind of come to all of them, and some people who catch it in Meredith's stories. And then there's a lot of people who watch the replay because the replay
Gotcha.
gets sent out. Um, so, yeah, so they've already signed up prior. I'm not sure how many signups there were, but that doesn't mean that they'll always show up because things come
Hmm.
up. Um, but um, yeah,
Well, at least I know you'll be, you and Brooke will be.
me and Brooke will be here. There was a Mason I saw, which was weird because I have a child
Yeah.
named Mason, and I was like, "Is he, like, somehow dialed in at school?" No. And what like, Meredith will send out, like, the link goes out, I think, like, a half an hour before the call starts, so people will get reminded, but we'll give, like, another minute or so, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, I subscribed to the emails like a year ago, Sky, when you shared it on your story, and this was the only one. Only the September one is the one I'm watching, but I know that they're all like on YouTube or wherever they're saved to.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yeah, that is an honor, I love that. Yeah, like, when I saw this one, I was like, "Oh, I need tax advice."
Well, and the thing is now you have like a contact that you're able to, if you did want to either have some questions or you're needing an accountant, you can also like, based on my presentation, you can decide if you want to talk to me or not.
Yeah,
Because it
yeah.
doesn't have to
I
be
went to
a,
school with you. I am an accountant. So it's
oh,
just gonna be like it could be a good resource to share with clients and stuff if they're
totally.
questioning it too, kind of thing. And I just curious. So I want to see the presentation. And yeah, some of the other ones aren't so like, yeah, they weren't accounting. It's like marketing and stuff like that, which I wasn't as interested in. But
Okay, well, let's get started, Skylar, and then if
Okay.
people filter in later, that's great. So by introduction, Brooke, obviously you know Skylar, but Skylar's a tax specialist, and she's going to talk to us about when to incorporate, benefits, all the things. So Skylar, take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining in. Uh, I got asked to be a part of this presentation about a year ago. I kind of said maybe signs it's time to incorporate would be a great topic that most people want to know about because I feel like most sole proprietors are always like, when do I incorporate? And I think that's a huge thing. I will be going through a bunch of different information, for but I thought this would be a great kind of topic that is very much needed every day. So I just need to do a disclosure. So this discussion is not exhaustive and intended for discussion purposes only as it deals with complex matters. As well, the material and reference therein reflect the laws and practices which are subject to change. For these reasons, the material presented should not be relied upon as a substitute for specialized professional advice. Please contact your Millard's representative to discuss your situation independently. In addition, the materials that reference herein are only draft legislation or not. So just kind of disclosure that everything is right now what we're going to talk about for discussion purposes only, and that for your situation, you should really talk to your lawyer and accountant for your specific needs. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little introduction on myself. So my name is Skylar Turkiewicz-DaBreo, and I'm a CPA. I actually haven't really decided what my last name is right now because I got married 2 years ago. Haven't done anything with it. I don't want to change it, but anyways, we're just taking 2 really long last names right now. So I got my BBA in 2017, but then I also did a graduate diploma in accounting. And then I got my designation in 2022, and then I did the in-depth of taxation, and I finished that in 2023. And the in-depth of taxation is kind of like a master's of tax. So just a specialization in tax. So I am a CPA, but then I focus on small business and corporate tax planning. So today's discussion, I'm just going to talk about a little bit of tax basics for anyone who wants to just get a refresher on a couple things. Then we're going to talk about sole proprietorship deductions and then incorporation. So we're going to talk about the advantages and disadvantages to incorporation and next steps if you decide to incorporate. And then we'll have a question and answer period for any questions you have after. And you can also, Sarah, I don't know how it is presented after, if they get a link, but if you do want to give them my email, they can send me an email if they do have any questions or want to set up a quick phone call if they want to talk about anything about my presentation or like needing an accountant moving forward.
Okay, amazing.
So that is that. Okay, so there are a few slips, including but not limited to, that you can be waiting on when you file your personal tax return. So that includes a T3, T4, T4A, T4E, T5, a T2200, T2202A, and an RSP contributions receipts. And I should have added the FHSA, which is a first-time home savings account receipt. That is new legislation over the past 2 years. So that is something also that you can be expecting. So you can also find these slips on your CRA My account online. Your accountant or anyone filing your taxes will also be able to access those slips if you give them authorization. I think one of the great things about the CRA My account is making sure you do get access, because you'll be able to access most of your slips. Sometimes there are processing delays. Last year we had a really big problem with accessing slips on CRA's website. It just wasn't connecting properly, which caused huge delays. But that is a really good resource if for any reason you don't end up getting your slips from your employers, your banks, etc. They also have made a change as of a couple weeks ago that you are required to, they have switched to email notifications. So with that, you really want to make sure you have CRA online so you can check those notifications, because you won't be getting it by mail if you do have an email set up with CRA. Oh, sorry. I told Sarah earlier, I'm not the PowerPoint wizard, but I try. So for filing deadlines for personal taxes, so the deadline to file your personal taxes is April 30th of the following year. So for this year, it would be April 30th, 2026. But if you're self-employed or have a spouse or common law partner who is self-employed, the deadline to file your return is June 15th. So they do give you a little bit of a grace period from that April 30th deadline. But I think where some of the confusion does happen is that, yes, you might have to file by June 15th, but any payments owed on your 2025 return are due April 30th. So you will have interest accrued from April 30th onwards. If on June 15th you owe, you will have that interest accrue. So I always suggest speaking with your accountant if you're self-employed to either like over contribute to your installments so that you don't have a balance owing, or have like try and file by April 30th. I always love to file but for April 30th if we can. But if not, I think what a great thing would be just giving a quick estimate so you do kind of know what you're going to owe so you can pay that for that deadline. Okay. And if there's any questions, feel free to pop in. I know we're doing a question and answer period, but if there's anything pressing, feel free to just turn on your mic. Okay, so for sole proprietorship, so you have a business that's not incorporated. You want to make sure you are saving all your documentation that's related to your business. So being self-employed, you need to know what you can claim and kind of cannot claim. So some of the expenses you can claim but are not limited to, and make sure they're applying. So if something doesn't apply, then we all want to make like can't claim it. But for most often, meals and entertainment, office supplies, rent, professional fees, telephone expenses, automobile expenses, home office expenses, fees and dues, and insurance are all are some of the expenses that you can be claiming on your 2125, which is your business statement. But I do want to make a note that not all types of insurance are deductible. So you'll want to make sure you're providing what insurances you are paying for to your accountant to make sure that we are claiming the ones we can and not claiming the ones that we can't claim. And there's also different types of insurances that will go on your medical expense form and not your business statement. So just making sure that you're communicating with your accountant on what types of insurances, and you know, they should also be asking that question too, like what types of insurances you have. All right. So home office expenses. So home office expenses are deductible based on your usage. So as long as it's either your main place of business or it's a space that you use for earning income and or to meet clients on a regular basis, you're able to deduct a portion of your home expenses. So if you start using your home for business use, you are allowed to claim a reasonable percentage of this asset. So in kind of terms, if your home office is one room and that's where you work out of, and it's 100 square feet, and then your home office, your house is a total of 1,000 square feet, we would be able to deduct 10% of your home expenses towards your business statement on your personal tax return. So some of the expenses that you can claim are mortgage interest, mortgage, or the prime rate came down today by 0.25. If anyone noticed, I was pumped about that. So mortgage interest, that's a huge one. Utilities, property taxes or rent, home insurance, repairs and maintenance, condo fees. These are, you know, just some of the expenses. Obviously, for people, there could be more or less expenses, but that's just kind of some examples. Okay. So automotive expenses, I think this is a big one because I am actually seeing CRA audit automobile expenses. So I think this is something that we really need to take seriously and not just say, oh, I drove 20,000 kilometers and let's say 10% was for business use. We really want to make sure we're keeping that log. There's some great apps available that you can literally track, like on January 1st, this was my odometer. December 31st, this was my odometer. And then in the app, you just record every single business travel that you do. So then at the end of the year, you have this documentation that shows your odometer, all your business travel for the year, and then your end odometer. Because CRA has been denying taxpayers that can't prove those mileage logs. So we really want to make sure, and I would even start today if you haven't, making sure you have that mileage log, because we are seeing now that CRA is looking at the mileage log more diligently than I saw in previous years. So based on the mileage log, you may deduct all reasonable motor vehicle expenses which are related to that business use of your vehicle. So this can include like interest on loans to purchase the vehicle, capital cost allowances, so depreciation, automotive expenses, automotive leasing costs, and then operating expenses such as fuel, oil, maintenance, repairs, insurance costs, car washes. If you have to parking specifically for business is 100% deductible. Same with 407. So just any motor vehicle expenses that you can have. All right, so we kind of went through a little bit of the just basics, but I thought it would be a good refresher. I know sometimes it's nice just to remember, get a short refresher on things you probably already know, but this is kind of the big one that we're going to talk about today, which is, do I incorporate? So this is like a really good question. It is really based on your circumstances and your business. Many small business owners consider whether to incorporate their businesses at some point, and there are a number of advantages to incorporate in Canada, but there are also some disadvantages and reasons why you wouldn't incorporate. So we're just going to talk about this, and at the end of the day, this is a discussion between you, your accountant, and your lawyer. Does this make sense in your area? I can give you all the reasons why maybe you should, but maybe there's one reason why it just doesn't make sense right now. So I'm just gonna give you the advantages, disadvantages, next steps to incorporate, and then at the end of the day, I want you to talk to your accountant, and if you don't have one, you can talk to me or find someone in your circle that you trust to talk about those next steps. I also talk with my hands a lot, so sorry if you're getting distracted. So there's a lot of advantages, reasons to incorporate. So liability is a huge one. If you're in a high risk area, having that little more shelter on your liability is a great buffer. There's beneficial tax rates on the first 500K of income for an active business. It's 12.2%. And the highest marginal tax rate over, I think it's 253, is 53.5%, 53.53%. So huge tax savings. Business loans can be more accessible. There's business name protection, and there's, at the end of the day, more flexibility in tax planning and optimizing your income and taxes to your benefit. And I will give you an example on that. Succession planning, so passing it on to the next generation. We can't really do a whole lot when it's just your sole proprietorship. It's much more effective when we can get into your incorporating and getting a family trust involved. That's way beyond the scope of my presentation today, but there are huge succession planning advantages. There's also tax advantage on selling your business. So if anyone's heard of the lifetime capital gains exemption, if we have an active business and you are a qualified small business corporation, you can have a tax-free sale. Mind you, minimum taxes can be involved, but a huge tax advantage on selling a business. And at the end of the day, you're going to defer taxes on unrequired funds, which is like the biggest part of incorporating for me. I think that's one of the biggest advantages, is making sure, trying to avoid paying as much tax as we can. All right. So you should definitely discuss your personal situation with your accounting lawyer before you decide. They will be able to give you a more precise picture of how incorporation could benefit your business and help you see whether the trouble and expense of incorporation will be worth it to you. But some of these disadvantages to incorporation include corporations that are not eligible for personal tax credits that a sole proprietorship may be eligible for, including using operating losses against other income. So for example, I'm not going to want to incorporate you if you are netting $10,000 a year, because at the end of the day, if you have other sources of income, we can use your losses against other income in your personal tax return. Whereas when you have losses in a corporation, we just have to wait until you are starting to make money to use those losses. So being a sole proprietor, when you're just starting out, so that if you are having losses in those beginning years, it's way more beneficial to be able to offset other income, where if you incorporate right off the bat, we can't use those losses against other income when we're in that corporation structure. There is additional tax returns for a corporation. So when you're incorporated, now we have to do a corporate tax return. We have to do payroll for you specifically. So there is additional compliance that is involved. And then when we do become, getting business loans and anything like that, we might need financial statements, or we might need a review or audit, depending on the complexity of your returns or grants or anything that your business is involved in. So there is increased paperwork. So, which in turn leads to additional professional fees. So your lawyer and accountant will be more involved in your corporation. So if you are looking to incorporate, you're not going to look at the same, oh, it only cost me $500 for my personal tax return this year. No, now it's going to look like potentially $2,000 to $3,000, depending on the complexity of your business. So there will be professional fee, extra professional fees. So you have to kind of include that in your discussion on whether you want to incorporate or not. And with that, I always try and speak to my clients when we're deciding on that, like whether, okay, we're going to incorporate, it's going to cost us this. Can I save you enough tax to make all these extra costs worth it? Because at the end of the day, I want you to be happy paying a little bit higher professional fees, because we are saving you tax, we're doing tax planning, we're planning for the future, all those types of things. If we aren't really saving you any tax, then you're going to be like, why am I paying all these fees? So there's definitely disadvantages to incorporation, but I think if incorporation makes sense for you, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages of incorporation. So I'm just going to give you a little example of kind of how the tax savings works. So a client makes $500,000, but only needs $200,000 to live. So $300,000 of their income, this is net, by the way. So they don't need $300,000 after every expense. They don't need that. So a personal tax rate, anything in that $300,000 is roughly going to be 53.53%. And then if it is an active business, we are going to assume a corporate tax rate of 12.2%. So as a sole proprietorship, if you made $500,000, who cares if you only needed $200,000 of that to live? You're going to pay $160,000 on that extra $300K of income tax. Where if we save that money in your corporation, you would only pay $37,000 in tax in your corporation, because you didn't pull it out for personal use. So in total, your tax deferral by leaving funds in your corporation instead of taking it all out as personal or being a sole proprietorship, you're saving $123,000 of tax, which is huge. Like, I don't want to pay $123,000 in taxes. I know that for sure. So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tax deferral. When you pull out that money, eventually you will have to pay tax on that personally. But effective tax planning is pulling it out at a lower personal tax rate than you would have at the start. So, after you and your accountant have decided, yep, It makes sense. I'm making all this money. I don't need all of it. I want to pay the accounting fees and the legal fees, and I think this extra returns are worth it. What happens next? Next steps in the incorporation process. So number one, first things first is you need a name. So every incorporated business must have a name that legally identifies it. So your lawyer will be able to check if it is available or not, but at the end of the day, you need a name. You can have a numbered corporation and operates as, but at the end of the day, we need to name your corporation. And then we create your articles of incorporation. So this step establishes the structure of your corporation and is the official document that creates your corporation. So I would suggest working with your accountant and lawyer to establish those articles. You can amend them later as needed, but it can be costly. So it's better to set it up right for the first time. So usually I don't suggest just doing it on your own. Like I really want you to work with your accountant and lawyer on this just so that they can set up the articles. Because if someone wants to buy into your corporation, if you need to do a freeze transaction, if you want to crystallize your capital gains exemption, all of those reasons, you want to make sure you are setting up your corporation from the start effectively instead of having to fix it later. So then we're also going to want to then establish your initial corporate structure. So we're going to make a board of directors. So you will need to appoint the first directors to oversee the company. Usually that's just you. You're the president, treasurer, secretary. If there is more people, you will decide that with your accountant. And then we're going to also identify individuals with significant control. So you will file an information return on the people who have significant control over corporation. And then we're going to obtain key government registrations. So we're first going to need to get a business number. So this is necessary to interact with any federal or provincial governments. And then also when the lawyers incorporate your business, you will be getting a corporation income tax account. So we would get that from CRA, and that's when we would get you a GST, HST number, if that applies, a payroll number if we're going to give you a salary. If we're going to give you dividends, we're going to get you an RZ number. So getting all those numbers set up right away, it's just more beneficial to get that done right away. And then we're going to register for necessary permits and licenses. So we're going to research and apply for any permits and licenses your specific business needs at the municipal, federal, and provincial governments. I did that not in order, but you get what I'm saying. And then we're going to finalize your internal corporate documents. So we're going to get you director and shareholder resolutions. That's really a lawyer job. We're going to draft corporate bylaws. So we're going to create rules for how your company will be governed. And then we're going to maintain a minute book. So this is just keeping record of all corporate formation documents and decisions that your corporation makes. So if we decide to declare a dividend for the year, that will be put into the minute book. We'll also want to get a bank account and insurance. So we do need that separate bank account that is your corporation's. So if it's Skylar Turkiewicz CPC, then I'm going to get a bank account that is Skylar Turkiewicz CPC, and also get insurance. So your insurance, you'll want to talk to your insurance provider to make sure that either it can be switched to your corporation, or that if you need additional insurance involved with your corporation, you will get that as well. And as always, talk with your accountant. They will walk you through all these steps. And if you have any questions, please let me know. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown. A lot of this is already done for you by your accountant or your lawyer. So it's not something you're like, how do I create my articles? We do these kinds of things, but it's something to just be aware of, that when you're in that process, you're not like, what is articles of incorporation? That is just something that needs to be done, and that's a me or your lawyer's job. Okay, so I just wanted to put in a few additional tax tips for you guys that might apply in your situation is just, utilizing your RSP and TFSA, because those are good savings drivers. We want to make sure if we have any realized capital gains, maybe we realize those capital losses. And if you are in the sole proprietorship, making sure that if we are having losses that we can offset it by other income, or not incorporating until we can use those losses against other income. There is pension income splitting. So if you are in the realm of starting to plan for retirement, talk about pension income splitting with your financial advisor and your accountant. If you are a first-time home saver, first home buyer, sorry, messing up my words. There are a few changes to the first time home buyers with CRA. So firstly, they have done that there's a first time home savings account. So you can put in 8,000 a year for 4 years up to, or 5 years up to $40,000. So that is a great, and all income saved in there is tax free, and you can take it out to purchase a home, and there's no repayment involved. And then also with the RSP, first time home buyers, if you do take it out, instead of it being that 35,000, you can take up to 60,000 now. And just have that repayment over that 15-year period. And then use all your available tax credits to lower your total taxes owing. So there is the first time home buyers credit. So that's $10,000. You can split it between two spouses, or you can decide who gets more of the tax credit or not. Make sure you're keeping track of all your medical expenses. And if you aren't sure if a medical expense is deductible, write it down and make sure you're just having that conversation with your accountant. Any donations or gifts to charity, make sure you're keeping track of all of those slips. I have been seeing in the past couple of years that CRA is requesting donation receipts if it is, above a certain threshold, or if it's unusual for you to donate a significant amount versus others. So just make sure you're keeping those receipts. And then the Canada Caregiver Credit. I know a lot of people have become caregivers. So just making sure that if you are a caregiver and your capacity, talking to your accountant to see if that is applicable to you. And then at the end of the day, when in doubt, ask your accountant. And that kind of concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. And if you are re-watching this, I've told Sarah that anyone can email me, so you will have my email. So if you want to set up a quick call, if you have any questions or just want to discuss a couple things, feel free to email me and we can set something up.
Skylar, what's your email? I'll put it in the chat right now.
Yes, it's STURK IEWICZ at millards.com.
Okay, so for anybody who wants it right away, there it is. Does anybody have any questions? I have a bunch, but I'll wait and see if anybody else has questions before I ask mine. And that was really great, Skylar. Thank you.
No problem. And if I was telling Sarah before, if anyone noticed, my PowerPoint had money signs all around it. My sister hates it, but because she actually deals with PowerPoint way more than I do.
Listen, we're not all experts in PowerPoint. I certainly am not. Okay, if nobody else has any questions, I do have like a little list of questions.
Yes, absolutely.
I was writing down. Okay, so when you were talking about the mileage log, so I use QuickBooks. Is that a forum that you recommend, or are there alternatives? And to be honest, all I do is swipe through every single one and say that it's business. So I guess that's a two-part question. Maybe that's a bad thing.
So I think there's like two things about this. I love QuickBooks. I love that I usually suggest, if you're a sole proprietorship, to make sure that your sole proprietorship income is in a separate bank account. So like all your income and expenses are going through that. So you do know that this is your business income and expenses. For your mileage log, I'm not sure if QuickBooks has that.
Yeah, it tracks in the app. Sorry, I should have said the app.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
which is really cool.
so then I would say I would keep going with that as long
Okay.
as you're making sure that you are using like business is business in it and personal is personal. And then for all your gas, it just records. And then at the end of the year, your accountant will be able to kind of put in those calculations with your mileage log. What is, yeah, a business expense with your gas versus your personal use. So
Okay.
I think QuickBooks, as long I haven't looked at the app because to be honest, I'm
Yeah.
not using it. We do have our QuickBooks specialist who does all that, and then I get the pretty like this is what it
The
is.
log. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for
Um,
anyone who's not using QuickBooks, just so that you know, like I use the app and every time you get into your car, it's logging. So if anybody is writing down mileage, this is a way better way to do it. You get in your car, it logs
yeah.
it, and then you can swipe through each trip and indicate what it is. So that's just like a little tip in case. I know that a lot of people use QuickBooks on a desktop, but not necessarily in the app, but the app is genius.
Is it
I didn't
free
know.
or is there a cost?
So, when you first sign up with QuickBooks, if I remember correctly, it'll do like a 99 cent a month promo usually, and then I think I pay like 11 bucks a month, but I also track all of my expenses. So, like when I'm going out and I'm getting receipts, like I'm taking photos of those receipts, it's automatically putting it into my QuickBooks. So, it's something I needed anyways. The mileage is just a perk.
I think that's great to know, especially because I've um just spoken with other of like my clients that use different mileage apps but that have QuickBooks. So that's great to know that QuickBooks also has that mileage portion of it.
Yeah. It's definitely it sucks because adding any kind of monthly payment, like we all have, if you're an entrepreneur, we all have a million monthly payments that are coming out. So to add another one does suck, but I will tell you I was a little bit hesitant to just kind of add another thing, add another app, add another payment, but it is a game changer for me in terms of like time savings and all of that. Um what else did I just say there, Skylar? I said the mileage thing and then I said something else. Now I don't remember.
I
Um
We
I
talked
don't.
about the mileage. And I thought you just asked whether QuickBooks was the.
Oh, maybe it was. So is there like is that your kind of desired platform or are there other ones that you recommend people using for various reasons?
Yeah, so I think the two that are like the huge ones is Sage, which is Simply Accounting, or QuickBooks. I
Okay.
think one great thing about QuickBooks is that, like, say for example, you were like, "Yep, I'm gonna hire Skylar." We have QuickBooks specialists that number one can help you at any time at our office. That's great, but not only for me, but most accounting firms probably have that. But what one great thing about the QuickBooks platform is that it can also download all your bank transactions. So you're kind of just like clicking what it is for and whatnot, where other platforms that I'm not aware of might not have that. So I think that's great. And the fact that I can access your QuickBooks online while you are too. So we can be going through it together if you want to discuss any transactions. I can look on this and just be like, yep, I fixed everything, we're good. Just keep going. Or if I need to make an adjusting journal entry, like I love that versus other programs is that I have this real-time access for QuickBooks where other platforms, either I'm getting like uh like a backup drive of it. So I can't really do any of those transactions where QuickBooks is, but I would say overall, usually it's Simply or the QuickBooks platforms that we use. But I would say QuickBooks is probably 90% of my clients and what they use.
Okay. And also you had talked about obviously like levels of income and how if you're making $10,000 like that, is there I think I know that and what the answer is, but is there kind of a minimum net income that you would kind of say, okay, I wouldn't even consider it at this point? I know that there are a lot of variables in that, but is there like
Mhm.
a general baseline that you would recommend, like, okay, maybe you might consider at this point?
Yeah, so this is obviously like for discussion purposes, and this is on a case by case
Sure.
basis. But I really want to make sure we are capitalizing on your CPP and using your personal tax credits. So usually what I suggest is anything under 100,000, I really want to just stay as a sole proprietorship for you. And then once we hit that kind of between 110 and 140 mark, that's when we really start to have those discussions. At the end of the day, for me, one big thing is like, if you can't save $10,000 in your corporation, it's probably not worth it for tax wise and like expenses, because at the end of the day, you're increasing your accounting costs probably by $2,000 to $3,000 a year, and any lawyer fees, and just making sure that we're capitalizing on, instead of it being at the 40% tax rate, um, give or take a few percentages. I don't have them memorized and I don't have them in front of
We don't
me.
expect it.
So if it's at that 40%, making sure that we're capitalizing on that 28% tax savings. So we really want to make sure we're saving in there. And if that is not possible, maybe it's just making extra RSP contributions as a sole proprietorship, or whatever makes sense in your situation. But yeah, when we're below the 100,000 mark as in your sole proprietorship, most of the time it doesn't make sense, but that doesn't mean that it will never make sense. It just, either moving forward, your income's growing and that's when we do it, or maybe it does make sense because there's liability things that we want to make sure that we're making sure you have the protection involved. Or like there's other reasons that you would incorporate, not just for like the tax savings. Um, However, that's kind of on a case by case basis. But in general, I would say that.
Okay. And is incorporated taxes the same? And maybe you covered this in terms of filing. Is it once a year? Are you doing it quarterly? Is it the same time as a sole proprietor?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we would decide your year end. So we could do it a December 31st year end, but let's just say I know a lot of doctors are slow in the summer, so maybe we choose a June 30th year end. So that every June 30th, July and August are working on your corporate taxes when your business is a little bit slower. So we choose your year end, and then for corporations it's annually, but for HST, just like sole proprietorships, we can do it more um more frequently. So quarterly or monthly, and then depending on your actual gross revenue, you might actually be required to be filing quarterly or monthly depending on your income. But generally we usually choose an annual, unless you have a lot of ITCs that want to get back or whatever that looks like. It depends on if, okay, I just want every 3 months to file that, so I'm not either holding a lot of cash in HST or waiting for a big refund for the end of the year. So there is some discussions involved with that, but at the end of the day, we pick your incorporation. We can do it the same way and just have all your year ends at the December 31st, so it just matches everything. And then if we are giving you a salary, there's another return that we have to do. So you can have up to about 4 returns generally, which is your dividend income, your salary, your HST, and your corporate tax return.
Okay, so that leads me into another question. So if somebody decided to incorporate tomorrow, they're so then they could claim, so they the last 3 months of the year, or whatever it is, as an incorporated business owner, like it wouldn't have to start fresh in the new calendar year. It would.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
if we decide, okay, we're going to incorporate September 17th, we can have a corporation year end as of August 31st. So it just has to be, for the first return, it has to be within a 53-week period. So with that, we could decide to have a December 31st year end. So it's from September 17th to December 31st, or we can decide any year end date up to August 31st.
Okay. Okay, amazing. I feel like I probably have a million more questions. I'm definitely gonna reach out to you, Skylar. But does anybody else have any questions based on Skylar's presentation or any questions that you might have?
Quick question. Sorry, I didn't get to the beginning because I was stuck on a call.
No problem.
Sorry. So what do you do, like accounting services as well, like for the prec?
Yes. So either we would do your bookkeeping or so we can do all of that as well. So we would do your kind of compilation of all your bank statements if that's what it is, or we would have one of my bookkeepers come in to do that bookkeeping service. And then at the end of the year, I would compile all that information, do your corporate or personal returns, and all returns that are required. If you charge HST, do that. If you have employee payroll, we would also file that. So yeah, we do kind of everything.
Perfect. I kind of like that it's all in-house, we'll say.
Yeah.
Right now I have a bookkeeper and then I didn't have the prec, so I kind of felt bad to let her go. So then I had to find an accountant though. And I was just like, so it's kind of like trying to keep on top of everyone. So I love the
No,
idea.
it's sometimes great to have it all in one place so you know
Yeah.
that if someone like, and then you can contact one person and one person can be, or I'm going to
Mhm.
talk to the bookkeepers about that. And then, okay, I've gone back to them. But then if you have a specific question, you can also just email them directly. So
Okay.
it's either you want that one person to handle everything, or you do have those kind of seamless because it is like a team working for you in one place.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry, are you in Cambridge?
I'm in Brantford.
Oh, you're in Brantford. Okay. Oh,
Yes.
I want to see.
So I do have clients all over the country and in North America and in Europe. So you don't actually ever have to meet me if you don't want to. If you want to come see me in Brantford, you can, but because of technology nowadays,
Yeah.
you don't need to see me. We
Okay.
also have a share file program that you're also able to upload all your documents there, which is I don't know the word, but protected.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not in IT, obviously. My husband is, he would probably be screaming the word.
That's okay.
Um,
You have like a list of services, like on your site or something like that? Like,
yeah, so maybe, I don't know if, so my email's in the chat. Maybe if you want to just send me a quick email and then we can kind of set up a
sure.
quick call to
Sounds good.
discuss kind of the services I provide. And then if you have any questions on how to move forward or anything like that.
Perfect, because my year end is August 31st, so this may work out really well.
Perfect. Perfect. So yeah,
Okay.
if you just want to send me a quick email, then we can kind of go from there.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, awesome. Does anybody else have any questions? If you have any questions, just unmute. But if not, then that will be the end. That was awesome, Skylar.
Okay, no problem. If anyone has any questions, obviously just feel free to send me an email. And then yeah, Sarah, if you need anything on my end, I sent the presentation to Claire, so that should be good. But yeah, thank you everyone for joining in. I hope you learned something today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
No.
just a refresher. Sometimes you
Yeah,
just need a refresher.
exactly. Okay, awesome. We'll send out this replay on the 24th and grab Skylar's email out of the chat and let her know if you have any follow-up questions. Okay, awesome.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
bye.
you.
Bye.